Pretty is having hair that defies gravity, possessing skin that ages slowly, embodying a body that can spell any letter in the alphabet other than ugly. So y'all better wake up. Wake up and smell the coffee, for the skin that you wear wrote mankind's history. From our backs, it built the world's nation's most powerful economy, and you would think by now that they will be able to give us our 40 acres and a mule. Teach our kids the unsystematic bullshit in school, but to give us those tools will only allow us to build ourselves up, and they got to keep breaking us down, for the sound of anything black succeeding is not pleasing. So let's forget their plan A and let's talk about their plan B, where they allow colorism to consciously creep into the cracks and creases of our cranium to cause chaos. As the caution tape lines the carcass mouth of those who knows the truth, because death shall surely follow them if they dare speak it. But truth is still truth by any other name. So why should we be ashamed to walk the streets in our dreadlocks, our bantu knots, our dashikis and our afros? Are we still too scared to show how beautiful is black? No, I guess it. I too have seen the cotton trees and the strange fruits that hang from them, that look just like me, swinging low or up so high as these bitter tears leak from my eyes. No longer can I deny my past self, for what better gift can one ask for to know where he came from? Thus, the road to which he is heading would be easy. Trust me, the epitome of black beauty is a living embodiment we see staring at us from the mirror, screaming, Kenson, to love oneself isn't vanity, it is sanity. To love oneself isn't vanity, it is sanity. To love oneself isn't vanity, it is sanity. So y'all can spare me the degrading conversation on what really is pretty, because pretty only seems to hurt me, and only me when I wear it black and proud. Oh, how we just overshadow any crowd by just our presence. And the question how will forever leak the lips of the ones who don't understand we, or able to grasp a whiff of the trinity that lives inside of we. That is when you know your worth and you have it manifest in your own comprehension. So never should we ever again have to shy away from our own reflection, for we are all walking temptations amongst envious eyes, and as they try to internalize us as beings, they can't. They don't possess the key to unlock our ancient rhythm, for our soul screams freedom, for we are free, and free from slavery we willingly mark our territory with our ancestors. Egungun, Afo, Ashe, they shall make a way, relentlessly and without doubt. Black people, most powerful weapon exists in their mouth, so don't make us make a call to whom, because trust me, there ain't no corruption until Africans congregate and start a vibration. So y'all can keep your version on what really is pretty, because trust me, no longer in this 21st century will I or shall we ever allow it to affect me. Because you want to know why? Because our black is indeed beautiful.
Alafia to everyone. I would like to thank everyone who is locked in, and thank you to the host, Ms. Shanae, and everyone who has orchestrated this entire program for the benefit of the young viewers and persons from our community, church, homes, and by extension. My story started with me growing up in Moruga, being born in what most persons would identify as a biracial um, family. My mother being of French Creole descent, and my dad being of African descent. I grew up very close to my mother's end of the family, so for a very long period of time, the perception of beauty was symbolized with light skin, long and straight hair, and as you all could see, I didn't inherit everything from my mother. So, with that, I think in the early stages of my life, there left a pothole wanting to be accepted. And that pothole would eventually get deeper as the years go on. My mother taught me a few things. One, she hates a liar, a greedy person, and a thief. Two, the only person opinion that matters is hers. From a very young age, I was placed in front of a lot of historians, Black historians from all over the world. I read books on Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Cleopatra, and the list goes on. She placed me in front of television series and movies depicting such names which I would have previously called. And I guess what it did for me was allow me to understand that, yes, Black is beautiful, but more than anything, that the heritage in which you have embodied or inherited is not something to be ashamed of. However, that did not take its true course until I started accepting myself first. Courage is something that we talk about often too much, but it's very difficult to adapt, especially if you come from a background that did not really appreciate who you are in your physical form. Growing up in that environment, I think it's not to cast blame on anyone because systematic oppression is something that we are unfortunately still living in today. And the term, they may have taken the shackles off our hands and feet, but it is still there, placed in our minds, is something that is very, very, very accurate. And the energy of courage is not taught often enough. I started writing poetry after one of my friends was murdered. And this young man was loved by many. And his loss was traumatic for a lot, simply because one, he was not a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. Two, his choices in life may not have been agreed or favorable by the world at large. I wanted to express myself in a way that I can be my authentic self, raw. So I took my pen and paper and I started writing. This poem would have been the spark of many more to come. But it wasn't anything that would have been what my life would have tried to have me achieve. It took me a while to understand that with power comes great responsibility, and the responsibility that this young man in front of you has is to try his best to accomplish his destiny, and that is to bring truth to the world in many forms. I am not just a poet, I'm a dancer, I sing, I write, I choreograph. I have recently, not recently, we made a year, August 2nd, to open my own performing company that is located in Mova Laventil, where I have a body of young persons looking up to me to set the example or to lead the way. And not only them, but their parents as well. But funny enough, these things didn't just happen like that. Yes, I am only 23 years of age. Yes, I have won a lot of awards within the theater, within the arts that I am a diaspora. Yes, at the age of 16, I became Mr. Sandfest. Yes, at the age of 17, I became Mr. Emancipation in Bacade. Yes, at the age of 18, I became Mr. Emancipation St. Patrick. And with all these things under my belt, I still had a form of emptiness simply because I believe that I was searching, but not searching for the, the likes of truth, but trying to cover it with these accolades. And within everything that happened, I still came back to being that little black boy. And going through day by day by day, we as persons of African descent often have it to face a lot harder than the rest. I asked questions many times, but was never really given a true answer. And that question is why? Why? In a world that is so beautiful, there is so much hate directed to a specific race. And yes, we can talk about Hitler and the Jews. And yes, we can speak about genocide and the many forms in which it took place. But when power takes over the mind, in my mind, I think it's like when you get addicted to something. The mind often releases endorphins and it becomes a very favorable feeling that is hard to let go. But within all of this, what can one say he or she has accomplished? Finding who you are is one of the most sweetest feeling that if I had the power to release my endorphins to others, I would have. It is a difficult task to first find yourself, to then have others really treat you with the respect that you hold to yourself, and then you trying your best to figure out how can you then navigate the same energy to the ones around you out of love, care, and affection. I have seen young ladies the kinks out of their hair, bleach their skin, and I'm not going to lie, I too was one of those individuals with when it comes to a few of those things. I went through the process of getting my hair to be a lot more wavy than it once was. And then trying to lighten the color of my skin just to be accepted amongst my family. And when something like that is tackled in your home, it is one of the most difficult things to overcome. You are there for as long as you become an adult or opportunity approaches and then you take it. So you now have no other choice but to sit there and fight. And if it's one thing you don't think about is fighting your family, right? And within every day, you try to find something, you find obstacles that would knock you down. And then you find loopholes that sucks you through. And then you find distractions that will lead you away. But it all comes back to this word courage. Having that energy inside of you, stamp on the navigation system in your mind. This is where I am, and this is where I am willing to go for the right purpose, of course. Oftentimes, a lot of us youths set our navigation to the wrong things. And that's all right. This life, it happens. We are easily distracted by the glitz and glamour. And then the television shows don't really allow us to really think about, well, why do I have to get this look? Or why do I have to have this appearance? Or why do I have to present myself in this manner? A lot of us go through life with yes, and not too much of why. I started asking myself a lot of why, the question why. And then I looked around and there weren't much people to answer me, especially the ones who were quote unquote leading the way or were telling me this is the way. And from the time you understand that they cannot ask the question, or you cannot ask the question why, then you need to understand that that is probably a direction you should not go. And having to understand human nature, body language, and all these other type of things, you can literally seek out persons for the fraud that they are. For example, it is a conversation right now that when you type up professional hairstyles, nothing of the African styles are accepted. Yet, the term or the way in which persons speak of us being free is promoted every single day, more so now than before. We speak of emancipation and independence, but are we? We speak of fulfilling one's rights and the ability to be free and make decisions and choices of our own, and then have been put in a position where we are constantly being slapped in the face because when we do take up the mantle to do such, it is not the quote unquote right thing, appropriate thing, that is not the way. And how much of us that share the same skin color as mine really understand where you came from? These questions from day-to-day life has been avoided and been avoided for a particular reason. I listen to a lot of talk shows and I listen to a lot of local comedians. One of my favorite, which is not favorable by most, is Miss Rachel Price. One episode, she spoke on being free. And she spoke in such a rage because she highlighted an episode that she had with one of her Asian friends. This Asian gentleman, friend of hers, owns a grocery. And she said to him one day, you know, I'm very proud of you on your business and success and whatnot. And he said, I think it was in a joking manner. He said, Rachel Gill, you know, the way to really handle business is to be smart. And notice I don't hire anyone other than your kind of people. So she looked at him in a particular way and she said, well, what do you mean, my kind of people? She said, you know, you Africans, you Creole people. He then said, y'all are the easiest to manipulate. It is easy for y'all to stay where you are because as long as you get a little extra money or life becomes a little sweet or your teeth fit, it is easy to detect. All of a sudden, your shoes have names. The earrings in your hair long but to your back. Hair in a different style every week, but you're still going home to a shack. And that stood out to me because these are not the things that they're teaching us in school. And I would soon go into the breakdown of my poem that was played at the beginning of the video to really have you understand and interpret why I wrote, what I wrote, the experience behind it, and why it was important for me to write this and then share it with others. The term ebony is often referenced to the color black. It is actually one of the many gifts back in ancient times in which you would give to a royal family. It holds worth. The first line in my poem says, I believe I heard a black girl say that her pretty hurts. Now, if anyone is a fan of Beyonce Knowles Carter, you would know that she sang a song called Pretty Hurts. And that entire song speaks about the image that persons would go extreme, that persons would go to be accepted as pretty. Now, in a world where black is considerably noted to be ugly, which I believe now more so than ever is changing, but at the time where black is considered to be ugly, you now have to work to be accepted as pretty, which deals with a lot of stripping and demolishing of the canvas in which God created you to be. So I believe I heard a black girl say that her pretty hurts. And that's a question. But then I decided to challenge that in me saying, yes, I believe I heard a black girl say that her pretty hurts, but her pretty will continue to hurt as long as ugly is deemed to those who wear the black body. To have that statement being made, a lot of persons don't really get it, is to really understand where we are and within the amount of years that we have as humans have been existing on this earth, how little progress we have made. In 1970 in Trinidad, when the Black Power movement was really in its peak, it was a time for us to really hone our skills as individuals. And looking back in the times of where we would have overcame slavery and so much that was put on us to keep us down, there is no doubt in any of that fact that is written and cemented in history that is known that we had to have a few things on our side. And to overcome that magnitude, to be in flux for 400 years of to be told this what you have been practicing for years is wrong. This what is yours, we are going to take it, put a little white paint on it and call it ours. This what you have that the world has, we are now going to take for our benefit. it took a little something called courage, one, God, God, one, two, courage, and the rest is unity, which is something that we don't often see in our day-to-day lives, in our communities. And right now, today marks the very first day of the year, of this year, and where we are celebrating Black History Month. It is not a public holiday. It is not something that is broadcast throughout the country. The Trinidad and Tobago Emancipation Support Committee only pushes so much, but it leaves a big, big, big question as to why isn't it more prominent? What can we do as persons to really get to that point of accepting and taking back what is rightfully ours? In 2019, when I started my performing company, I first needed a plan. I needed to know why I'm doing this, what is the reason of putting myself at this young to 30 plus students. What am I going to teach them? What can I teach them? Can I teach them anything? Right? And all these questions came rapidly. But I don't think that God gives you anything that you can't handle. One. Two, I don't think that anything that you know in your mind, body, and soul that you are meant to do, you should not do. And after really sort of traumatizing myself with the fact that you're putting yourself in a position where these kids may, one, like you, or two, may not like you, but they're here for a reason. So what are you going to do? And then I started formulating my plan. And my plan was to, one, create a place where kids within the Mova, Laventil, and environ can come and get the best teaching that they can pertaining to all forms of the arts, whether it be dance, drama, music, stilt walking, fire breathing, and the list goes on. And to also use this forum as a means of reminding persons who they are, who they really are. My colors of my company is black, white, and gold. The white is for versatility. It is the easiest color to dye, so I expect my performers to adapt to any art form as quick as white touches any color in dye. The gold stands for excellence, the standard of which we tend to hold ourselves first place, always. And the black, for black consciousness, black awareness. To have these kids in this area understand that, yes, it's probably one of the biggest hotspots in the country. Yes, it may not be it may not be the prized possession of grow nice, strong, bearing beautiful fruits or flowers, or you can really fix those areas that in which you have tossed the plant across. Make sure that it has the proper nutrients and fertilizer. And in that same area where it can seem to be very unfriendly, something beautiful can be formed. And these things don't just happen with simple faith. Faith without work is dead. I know a few of you might know where that came from, and it's true. But it also takes the courage to have the persistence, to execute, to accomplish, to fulfill, to really grab the bull by the horns and say, I'm not going to be afraid. It takes courage to fight an impossible fight. It takes courage to have that leap of faith. It takes courage to have a little boy from Murugga leave his hometown to fulfill a dream, not knowing anyone in a small concrete jungle, and only holding his talents and skills to this forefront to now have a performing company that would have been in music videos for artists, one of the biggest artists right now, Nyla Blackman, some of the living legends, super artists such as Thayan, Bunji, to be recognized by counselors in positions, Mr. Hillen, Mrs. Adana George Griffiths. It takes a lot of courage to accomplish whatever persons have told us or made us feel that we could never accomplish. But the most important thing for me in that is that with that energy of courage, it was, and I would highly urge persons to really take a history lesson on oneself. Know where you came from so that you would know where you're going. Know who you are so that no one can in any way or form try to manipulate you to tell you who they want you to be or who they think you're supposed to be. I tell my kids all the time, I don't want you fighting with one another. That is not something that we do. I do not want you speaking to each other as though that you are animals. That is not something that we do. I don't want you to go around thinking that just because you're from Mova, Laventil, Beatum, Silots, that you are obligated to have a thug gangster type of demeanor, or that you are not entitled to have the best that every single other person in this country or some may have. I urge them to always, always, always try your best and put your best foot forward. I make pop-ups at school. I show up and I check my children books, their reports, and if it comes down to the fact that you may reach to a point with me where I might not be so friendly, then so shall it be. It takes courage for somebody to claim children that is not his biologically and to have them as his own or her own. Because I know I'm not the only person in this country and by extension the world who is doing such. But we need to understand that as a unit, we are stronger as one and weaker divided. It is important for us to really sit down and be our brother's keeper. I recently listened to Mr. Ahmad's um, episode, if I can call it that, where he was with y'all. And something that he said that stood out to me was that he never got a chance to really ask, no, sorry, he does not recall what his mother sounds like. And he does not recall, he believes that if it is that he had time to really ask certain questions, because I believe that someone asked him that, is he doing well with the loss of his mother at the age of 16? And in a situation like that, one could only think that in a community where, or with a race that is known to come together in times of tragedy, that a community would do such. It is difficult to go through life on your own. I would not be able to be solid in my company if it wasn't for the help of my executive members, my parents, meaning my kids' parents, my parents as well, my mom also. Um, but you can never achieve anything by yourself. There's a saying that it takes a community to raise a child, and that is true. It is not because you are incapable of doing such by your own. It's just that as a dancer, I was told to not have one dance teacher alone. Because one dance teacher could only teach you so much. When you have 12 different dance teachers teaching you different styles and their version of it, you become a master. And I think that is the prime message in that saying. A village cannot raise, it takes a village to raise a child because it takes multiple hands to really flavor a pot, if you really think about it. Grandma's recipe mixed with mama's recipe, mixed with my own taste or flavor, and then you have a pot of magic to give to the world. In a time where we are and we have experienced this year, um, the Black Power movement more so than ever, I allowed my children to have this type of conversation and these type of events in front of their faces. I needed them to see what it is from young. Because as parents, and I don't know if we have any parents logged in, but as parents, we try our best to really protect our kids. And that's, I guess, basic instincts. But in my mind, we cannot protect them for the rest of their lives. We are only going to be here for so long. And with so much oppression on our shoulders, early o'clock is the best time to start having them understand, yo, this is what you have been born into. This is what it is. This is what you can be. And these are the obstacles you are going to face, basically, simply because of who you are. And I'm going back and forth, juggling the theme of courage and placing it infusing it with the topic of Black acceptance, because we need that courage there. We need the courage to go back to our roots. We need the courage to really sit down and accept what we may not like because it's not to the standard of which we have been placed under or the culture in which we have been placed under. We live in a multifaceted world and in a country that is very diverse, but you cannot favor one and bash the other. And I remember a story of my sister telling me that she went to apply for a job. And though she was highly recommended, someone with lighter skin and straighter hair, quote unquote, more beautiful hair, was given the position and she was left to be a cleaner. And I was very naive at that age because I was just like, nah, this ain't America. Only America have those stuff, excuse me. Or a lot of those things came to a question when I got a taste of the world. And I think that's what my mother tried to do without really saying it. She tried to have me see all the heroes that were just like me. She tried to say certain things without having me build up a rage or hate for the persons them who were placing these things on me simply because they too themselves may not know better. What you were raised with is what you consider gold. If my mother tell me, hate a liar, greedy person, and a thief, till to this day, I really don't deal with persons who are like that or carry those traits. And it all goes back to parenting, one, the type of influences we allow our kids to really absorb. Kids are very, kids are very um, easy to manipulate because they understand that they are not the spearheaders. And what you teach your kids in your home, yes, is your business, but it becomes our business when you send them out into the world and those teachings start to creep, walk in the front door or back or climb through the windows. It becomes our problem when these things were not addressed, and then it becomes country business when your child is a mass murderer or a thief or someone in a kitchen cooking up a pot of corruption to mislead a lot of our youths. We hear it in the music of today. And though I have an amount of respect for what persons write, because what they write is their truth. But then there are those who on it for the clout and would chase it like it's a bag of money and is left to be placed out there to leave to lead a life without the conscious sense of proper upbringing. When I become a father, I believe I know the very first thing that I am going to teach my kids. And those who are around them, I have already started with my own kids in my performing company with the permission of the parents. There is nothing that I don't do that I don't bring across my parents because I need them to understand, and I do not need to be someone who is seen as sneaky. You would see in just a few, a couple of videos, photos that I would have done as mini projects with my students, and how beautiful my babies look in their authentic form. We need to stop paint our faces with these clown masks that has absolutely nothing to do with us, that has absolutely nothing to uplift us, and to really own who we are as a people and a race. It is appalling to think that a young lady can say to me that she is not beautiful because her hair is not long or because her skin is not light enough. And the role models that she choose or have didn't even have a choice to select tells her that this is the way that you should go. I wear my hair like this. I didn't comb it today, that I can remind myself every single day, this is why you're doing this. This acts as a constant reminder of who you are. This is a constant reminder of where you came from. This is a constant reminder of the importance of the fight and where it can lead you. And this as a constant reminder of who you have become and becoming. Because growth is a process, and every day we grow. Every single day, there is something new to learn. And I urge everyone who is listening to learn something that benefits you, teaches you about you, so that you can teach others about us. And us can only help us. And I know it is sad to say, but someone has to say it. We recently had Black Lives Matter and Black Money Matter, which is a Facebook site that only develop a platform to only showcase Black greatness, entrepreneurships, and persons willing to start their own business on who has. And it is amazing to me. It was even surprising and shocking to me to see how much Black owned businesses there are in Trinidad and Tobago. Hairstylists. We are very, very fashionable people because our culture holds that. Our hairstyles can change from a simple bun to cornrows and braids in many different styles. Our fashion comes from a long line of tribes and culture that own different styles of cloth. I listen to people when they go to buy African cloth and they be like, I'm looking for an African cloth. And in my mind, I'm like, do they know that there are over 18 different styles and prints that has particular names that goes with the particular tribe? And what if you were to learn this and pass this on? How extraordinary that would be for you to be standing in your own greatness, regal and royal in your own skin, comfortably without a particular holiday coming about for you to rush and go in a store and just put it on for that particular day. How beautiful is it for you to walk the streets in your authentic self and you be seen as an individual? My mother always tell me, do not follow people. Don't follow people at all. Be yourself. Be who you are. Wear what you want to wear. Find out who you are, and then you would see the true essence of who you are. I have never worn a Jordans in my life, unless I had it as a baby and I really don't recall. And my thing is, the man who invented Jordans don't even wear Jordans. Sad but true. And we kill him for it. I sure drag slippers on my foot any given day. It looks good too. And it lasts very, very long. I wear my African outfits as much as I can. When I go to school, I throw on my dashiki and any other African clothing that I do have at a point in time, because to be a role model isn't just speaking it. You really have to act upon it as well. Give a everyday display of who you are and embrace it without regret. The last thing that I would like to see is persons really pushing forward to suppress who we are. We have come a long, long, long way, to the point where Afrobeat music is the pinnacle of music today. African styles, from hairstyles to clothing, is the go-to thing now. And I'm afraid of something, that skinny jeans was a thing. It stuck. Baggy pants was a thing. That went out the door. Style comes in without proper teaching, and it goes. Would my people have this turn in our culture where it is now the spotlight, be here without learning anything about it till its time lapse is out, and then we are back to where we once started, to the bottom? It is much, much, much needed for our youth. Imagine understanding the way of our ancestors and how they did things and the reason why they did things, and having that fact been implemented in the mind consciously to our youths. Would it make a change in the world? I believe it would. I've seen what it can do. I've seen what it has done. I know that there is much more to unfold and to witness. I know it is a beautiful thing. It's comfortable. You can sleep at night not worrying how are you going to get this because it's the thing in style now. It's important for us to understand that form of life where respect was a demand and a way of life, not something that you had to fight for. To fight for respect is one of our greatest downfalls because we do not value life. And every time a ghetto boy goes down the drain, and the aim to prevent that isn't where it needs to be, at least for me. There are many things I could have done in my life. I could have done drugs, could have been a father by now. I could have eliminated this present figure that you are seeing here into something completely unrecognizable. But it took the courage for me to say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. And I will try my best not to do that. It is very have these conversations with ourselves. It's very important for us to really interpret what is being taught to us properly, because being an Ifa devotee is not the easiest thing. People hear Ifa and they say, well, what is that? And then when we explain it to them, the closest thing we can draw to them is that, and you know what a spiritual baptism is? And oh God, oh yeah, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. And we'll be like, if only you understood that word, and what it meant, where it came from, wouldn't really have that reaction. But a lot of things has been mistaught to us. We have been misled to hate our own. When we understand that, we would see things in a different light. I'm not sure if at this point, if it is that there are any questions to anything that I would have said before, but you all are welcome to type it up and I don't have a problem answering anything. Did I lose anybody within this conversation or anything anybody would like me to reiterate for them? I see one of my students is here. Hi, Shania. So yes, right now I am going to display to you all, well, I should say Shanae will display to you all some of our projects in which members of my company would have got in. So this young lady right now is the reigning Little Miss Africa. She won this title at the age of 12. And aside from taking the title, she also walked away with Best Female Talent and Best and Miss Congeniality. It is important for me to have my kids be a part of these events because not only did she win that, she also won a scholarship to learn African language and technical training with dance dynamics. This is Miss Jerusha Williams, our reigning queen of Little Miss Africa. This is Miss Taraje Strong. We did a photo shoot a few days ago to celebrate Black hair and Black culture. Her makeup was done by Glam Life by Aaliyah, which is the aunt of one of my dancers. Her jewelry was given by Glam and by Miss Safia. Her hair was done by her mom. Taraje is 7 years of age. And mark my words when I say she is going to be the youngest limbo queen that Trinidad has to offer until younger comes along. This is Miss Felicia Jones. Felicia is 6 years of age. She is wearing Miss Safia's jewelry. Her hair was done by Glam. And what we did for this project is that we invited a lot of local Black-owned businesses to collaborate with us. My brother, Justin Gittins, did the editing of this. You can follow him at JG Media on Instagram. Amazing photographer, amazing editor. He does all of our photo shoots and our videos with my kids. And he is very fun to work with, very reasonable young man. Miss Felicia herself is a beauty queen in the making. And she is so disciplined. There's nothing really bad I can say about her. It doesn't take much for us to say, all right, Alemarks, get set, go. And she's there. Yeah. This is Miss Shayna Francis. Shayna is a very special young lady. She's rocking some Bantu knots here, done by her sister. Makeup again, you can follow her at Glam Life on Facebook. Jewelry by Miss Safia again. Miss Safia would have done this in about, I think it's in one night, she would have just whipped up all the jewelry that we style done by a young lady is that seeing her, you would say she's a living, existing firecracker. And she is what they would call a little person, aka a midget. And coming to Laudat's insecurity would have been lifted. She would have been one who would not have been to the forefront, would have been pretty shy. But look at her now, given all things in this photo shoot. Yeah. And this is our youngest. This is Deshana. Deshana is 5, or recently turned 5. And she came to us, I think, 2 months ago. Deshana is growing very fast. And her features, if I do say myself, kind of goes back to the times, I think, is the Igbo people that you would find in, no, not Igbo, the Zulu features that you would find from the tribe located in South Africa. And the tribal mark we put on our kids' faces because each tribal mark hosts a meaning. This, the dots around her eyes, is um, symbolizes youth. Um, the the stripes that goes up above her head is symbolic for prosperity, and the lines on going down her nose is symbolic for beauty. Yeah. Again, our reunion, Little Miss Africa, at a photo shoot that we did with Mr. Lachey in Tunapuna. Shout outs to Mr. Lachey. Yep, that's her again. We did this one a few months ago for this month to really showcase Black History Month. We did a um, safari background and we had the drums implemented in there. A lot of persons would have asked the importance of drums. Well, it is what is known as in the African diaspora as a form of communication, a call to our ancestors. Um, and as you can see, she's very flexible. Yeah. The hairstyle was done, the head wrap was done by one of our mothers in our company. And the makeup, again, by Glam Life, Miss Aliyah. I see somebody typing drums. Yes, drums. We also teach our kids, we also offer drums at our performing company, done by Mr. Ano. He is our drumming tutor. Um, he's very good at his job, and he keeps the boys them in line. We separate the boys and the girls them because I really want to have that individual um, growth and that collective of where the girls them are, they do what they do, where the boys them are, they do what they do. When they come together, we make magic. Yes. This this is Miss Chelsea Casabon. Chelsea would have came third in the DGCL, one of the DGCL Carnival pageant. She were in the Little Princess category. She came third. She also left with Best Fitness um, Princess in the fitness category. She did exceptionally well in that pageant. And we got a chance to saw Chelsea in a different light that we wouldn't have accustomed to on a day-to-day basis. Dance is growth, dance and performance is growth. And the education that these kids got in both pageants reflected strongly on who they are as young African princesses or queens. So shout out to Chelsea. All right, this young lady here has so much to offer. She is a beauty pageant in the making. The way that she's balancing that calabash on her feet, I think says a lot in terms of what she has to offer in the world of modeling. And whenever we do a video or photo shoot, her face must be on point. Her style must be on point. Her poses them are always very unique. Um, Sophia here is one of our intermediate members, and It was absolutely a great pleasure shooting this with her. She was a doll. Again, this was at the launch of the Emancipation Support Community Lunch at Central Bank Auditorium. Miss Jerusha is modeling Mr. David George's outfits. Mr. David George styles and fashion. This other one we did right around the time. Oh, so we went back. So yeah, that's Jerusha, the reigning queen. This one that we did, um, this was one of the most important shoots that we have done thus far, simply because it was right around the time when we had the uprising of the Black Power movement in Trinidad and Tobago. Um, I gathered all my kids and I was just like, we're going to make a public statement, a political statement, and we got donations of outfits. The fellas are to the back displaying strength and whatnot, and then my young ones into the front also doing the same. Our girls are beautifully adorned in their outfits. It was a beautiful day. It also gave me a reason to have a conversation to them about Black empowerment and how important it is for you all to see what is happening in the world, and what we need to do as a collective is to come together, get it at them as soon as you can, and watch it flourish into something great. Yeah. So I think that was it. Um, these things are not just sparked up at the moment. It takes a lot of thought, takes a lot of calling around, takes a lot of sometimes it takes a lot of beg, buy, and borrow. But I am proud at the end of the day to see what has been created, the end result, the um, impact in which it would have had, the the spirit in which these kids are now getting to have. And